Welcome back to Moving to Hampton Roads. This video is all about the pros and cons of living in Williamsburg, Virginia. I have to be honest, this list is a little lopsided, so stick around and I'll show you why. My name's David Tortellini, and every day I help people just like you buy and sell property here in Williamsburg, Virginia, and throughout all of Hampton Roads. If this is your first time to the channel, hit that subscribe button so you can get our future videos. And then when you're ready, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. We'd love to help you out with your next move. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with our first pro. It's kind of an easy one, but it's the history. The history of Williamsburg and the surrounding area is amazing. If you're a U.S. history buff, then this is just about the most prime place where you could ever live. You know, between the Jamestown settlement, colonial Williamsburg, historic Yorktown, and all of the other small historic sites that create the historic triangle, you really can't go wrong. I mean, it plays such a major role in the culture. And I mean, let's be honest, if those things didn't exist, Williamsburg probably wouldn't exist itself. I mean, there's so much going on there that, that history, that sense of pride in the history really make a big difference. And it's such a big part of the local culture. I mean, being able to spend your time in colonial Williamsburg, it never gets old. Walking up and down these streets that are frozen in the late 1600s, early 1700s, and just having that be a part of your day-to-day. A lot of people work there. A lot of people shop there, go to restaurants. I mean, there's just so much going on. And involved in all of that is just learning all about the history of the area. I mean, it's invasive so much that I'm wearing Thomas Jefferson socks right now. So that is just the way that this area works. So, if you're a history buff, you can go to the Jamestown settlement anytime. If you have children here, their school is going to go to the Jamestown settlement. They're going to go to colonial Williamsburg. They're going to go to Yorktown. They're going to learn about these different things. You can go down to the Yorktown, Revolutionary War Museum. There are so many amazing things. Then there's just little things just built into the neighborhoods, like the church on Main. It's just in a neighborhood. You're just sitting there and just like, oh, this is an important historic site, and it's across the street from my 4-bed, 2.5 bath, 2,400 square foot house. So that is the kind of place where that Williamsburg is, and that really kind of is the whole region in general. So really, if you like history, if you like that sense of kind of having something that came before you and a sense of living in a place of importance, then you're going to absolutely love Williamsburg. Okay, now let's get to our first con, and that is the commute. So the thing about Williamsburg is it's kind of out of the way. So the major employers for Williamsburg are still mostly down lower on the peninsula, like Fort Eustis, Langley Air Force Base, and the Newport News Shipyard. So usually a lot of people that live in Williamsburg are going to be commuting out either down further on the peninsula, or they're going to be going up to Richmond. Now, that's not to say that a lot of people don't live and work in Williamsburg. Certainly, many people do, but a lot have to make a drive. And that's been a very limiting factor for a lot of people for not moving to Williamsburg. So a lot of people who are stationed, say, at Langley Air Force Base, they don't want to drive the 35 minutes that it would take to get to Langley from Williamsburg because they just want to be 10 or 15 minutes away. And that's why the prices in southern York County are so high, because it's both big, nice houses, but it's also only 10 minutes from Langley Air Force Base. Or if you're down at the shipyard and you're coming from, the Jamestown area or northern Williamsburg, you could be looking at a 45, 50-minute commute to get to work. And that's really just going to, put off a lot of people. It's 45 minutes to Richmond. So a lot of families do live in Williamsburg because maybe one spouse goes to Richmond and the other goes down to Newport News or Hampton. So it's a good central location that way, but you are going to put some miles on your car. You're going to be a little farther away from work than you would be if you were able to secure a home, really close to, in Newport News or Southern York County, something like that. So that's just one of those big things. It keeps a lot of people out of making that trip to Williamsburg is the commute. Now, they did widen 64 through the majority of Williamsburg. just a couple of years ago, so the commute is much faster. I do think that's going to drive a lot of growth in the northern kind of Lightfoot, Tuano Norge area, and we'll see how that goes. But in the meantime, you better be ready to get in your car and do some driving if you want to live in Williamsburg and you don't work there. Our next pro for Williamsburg is going to be the food and drink scene. There are so many great restaurants, breweries, wineries, everything in Williamsburg. So if you are someone who likes to go out to eat, likes to go out for a good drink, go out for a beer, this is a great place for you. So you just, you have the historic colonial Williamsburg kind of restaurants that if you've traveled as a tourist to the town that you've probably been to, but when you're living here you tend to not really go to those. You're going to end up at places like Blue Talon Bistro, La Yucca, Opus 9, Cachon on 2nd, Casa Pearl, Food for Thought. There's so many. The list goes on and on of great restaurants scattered throughout the area. Right in colonial Williamsburg there are great restaurants. Amber Ox, probably my favorite. I should have mentioned that first. There are so many great restaurants right there. Then you've got like the Newtown area with lots of great restaurants up and down Richmond Road. Tons of options there. You've got the Williamsburg Winery, so you can go to a working winery while you're in Williamsburg. There's a meadery, a distillery. There are a bunch of breweries, so you have places like Virginia Beer Company, Precarious, which is in colonial Williamsburg, happens to be my favorite, Billsburg, Frothy Moon, Brass Cannon, just so many options. Virginia Beer Company, I don't know if I said that already. There are just so many great options for going out and eating and drinking. The dining scene is great. And of course there are, as I mentioned, like the more tourist places, but then when you're living here, you're really going to find, your few places where you really like to go. But the list for an area that's only about, say, 65,000 total people between Williamsburg, James City County, there is a ton to do from a dining standpoint. And you really can just pick a new restaurant every week and not really get sick of anything. So eating, drinking, Williamsburg, it's a lot of fun, a lot of great restaurants. And that's going to roll us right into our next con for living in Williamsburg, and that there's absolutely no nightlife in Williamsburg. While there is great dining and great breweries and a winery and all that great stuff, it all shuts down at like 9 o'clock. So really there just is not a lot going on later at night. And this is a common complaint we hear from mostly young people who want to have a club to go to or bars that stay open late, stuff like that. And truth of the matter is that's just not Williamsburg. I mean, it's a very much a suburban town with a lot to do in it, and most of those people are either a little older or they have kids and they have basically their own set curfew. So, after 9 o'clock, it's pretty crickets out there. So really, if you're looking for a lot of nightlife and excitement, stuff like that, you're just not going to get it in Williamsburg. You're really going to have to go up to Richmond or really down to Norfolk, because there's not a whole lot going on in between Williamsburg and there either. So if that's a really, really important thing to you, you're either just going to have to adjust your life and have a lot of fun during the day, because you'll go out and you'll find these breweries hopping at 12 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, but come 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, pretty much everybody's kind of checking out for the night, heading home, getting up the next morning nice and early. So that's really just kind of this complaint we get from particularly young people that there really is nothing to do at night in Williamsburg. Our next pro for living in Williamsburg is the shopping. There's actually some really great places to go shopping in Williamsburg. So you have like the premium outlets. So those are about 120 different shops that all offer, mostly discounted items from their main lines. Those are really popular. I mean, people travel from all over the place to go to the outlets. I mean, when they have deals, the deals are incredible. So, people come in from all over the place, go to the premium outlets. I mean, Newtown is just a wonderful place to do some shopping and dining. I can't, tell you how much I love about Newtown. We have a video on Newtown, so you can always watch that if you want to see more about it. But you have Newtown, then you have just a bunch of other opportunities to go shopping for everything from like little, Christmas store knickknacks to everything in colonial Williamsburg if you want some like historic art and a lot of other things like that. So really you have a lot of different options up and down Richmond Road. It really is everything that you need from a shopping standpoint exists in Williamsburg, and it's really interesting because Williamsburg is north of a couple of much larger cities in Newport News and Hampton, and I think the shopping in Williamsburg is significantly better. I mean, the plaza with Monticello Marketplace, that's my favorite Target in all of Hampton Roads. It's fantastic. And I know it's just a Target, but it's important because people, when you live and move to an area, you need that Target right there, and it's great. So everything going on in Monticello Marketplace is nice. I mentioned Newtown, got the outlets, and then just, there's just great shopping throughout the entire area. So no matter what you're looking for, you can definitely get it in Williamsburg. Our third con for living in Williamsburg is that it's kind of hilly. So the reason I consider this a con is that we have so many people who move to the area who are looking for your typical suburban home with a nice flat backyard. And Newport News, York County, Hampton, those are all perfectly flat. Backyards everywhere. It's almost hard to find a hill down further on the peninsula. But when you get to Williamsburg, it gets pretty hilly. So you have a lot of homes that are built into a hill where the backyard is not all that useful. They really take a steep dive pretty quickly in a lot of neighborhoods. So if you're looking for that traditional backyard where you can set up the trampoline, put up the play set, have a garden, all that kind of stuff, just let the kids run around, play catch in the backyard, that can pose a challenge sometimes. There are going to be certain neighborhoods where you're just going to be completely eliminated because there isn't a flat yard to be found. And I know that particularly for our families who are moving to the area, who have, kids that want to run around in the backyard and everything, this can be things to be a challenge. It can make it really hard to find the right house with the right yard in the right neighborhood. And when you're dealing with a lot of that, just know that if you're moving to the area, that's something that you're just going to have to deal with. There's a lot of like little waterways that run through the area. So you get houses that are kind of built and then the backyard slopes off, or even the opposite where you're kind of your backyard kind of goes straight up a little bit. So, that's just a challenge that we run into while selling homes in Williamsburg. So just be prepared that you may need to really narrow down your search to a few specific areas if that nice flat backyard is what you're looking for. Our next pro for living in Williamsburg are all the parks and trails. So no matter where you live in Williamsburg, whether it's Jamestown, Northern York County, City of Williamsburg, there are parks and trails right nearby. So say over by like the neighborhoods of Queens Lake or Creekside Landing, you have New Quarter Park. It's like 550 acre park. That's incredible. You can go up the street to Waller Mill Park. That's on the water. Go over to Freedom Park, which has the like Go Ape zipline system, and I think it's 20 plus miles of mountain bike trails and hiking trails. Great for bringing your dogs out for a nice long walk. Same thing with Waller Mill. And then in like City of Williamsburg, you have the Matoka Trails, which is this huge trail system between Newtown and William and Mary campus. So there's a ton of trails. You can get lost in the woods back there. You can park in Newtown at Opus 9, walk across the street, get on the trails, and wind your way to Colonial Williamsburg and William and Mary campus. So it's really incredible that you can be really anywhere here and find a great park. And then, of course, over in Jamestown, that gives you access to the Capitol Trail, which is a 50 plus mile bike trail that follows the coastline all the way up to Richmond. I mean, it's a 50-mile bike trail. It's incredible. I mean, it's one of the best things going in all of Virginia. And they're also like the Green Spring trails right there. And you can hop on those right at like Jamestown High, or you can walk out your backyard because they weave through the neighborhoods. So there are a bunch of neighborhoods where you can actually just walk out your backyard or kind of walk across the street, hop on the trail system, and be out in the woods on this great trail system right there in the Jamestown area. So whether you want to get on a mountain bike at Freedom Park or New Quarter Park, or you want to just go for a nice scenic walk around Waller Mill Reservoir, that is just one of the best things about living in Williamsburg. No matter where you are, parks, trails all over the place. They're all public. super easy, very well maintained. Every one of the parks is extremely well maintained. Frisbee golf at a couple of them. So there's so much fun outdoors to do in Williamsburg that I think it is really one of the absolute best things about living there. Okay, and our fourth con for living in Williamsburg, and this might actually be the most important con, is that it's pretty expensive. Relative to the rest of Hampton Roads, Williamsburg has probably the highest sales price of any town. So a single family home in Williamsburg, the median sales price recently is just under $500,000. So this is not an inexpensive place to live. That's almost twice as much as Newport News. So you're really looking at an area where just the price point alone is going to make it impossible for a lot of families to move to Williamsburg as much as they want to. Now, of course, there are far less expensive, some smaller townhomes and some smaller bungalows and things like that are much more approachable. But you are really looking at a median sales price that's much higher than most of the rest of the area, and that's going to make it a little bit more difficult. Now, you may be coming down from DC or New York City going, oh my God, that's amazing. You're telling me I can get a nice house for $500,000? So, if you're coming from a big city, or you're coming from California, something like that, where the prices are unbelievably high, then yes, Williamsburg is very affordable. It's much, much better than a lot of those places. But for our region, Williamsburg is pretty darn expensive. And for just kind of your average family, that might make things a little bit more difficult to move into Williamsburg. All right, well, that was actually our last con. Now, I really wanted to make this somewhat of a balanced video, but at the end of the day, I really couldn't. I asked some coworkers for more ideas, I asked some other friends for more ideas, and no one could really give me anything that we haven't already talked about. Because at the end of the day, Williamsburg is an amazing place to live, and there's a lot more to like about it than there is to not like about it. So we're going to keep rolling with a bunch more pros about living in Williamsburg right now. All right, let's keep rolling with the pros on living in Williamsburg. Next up are the schools. So as a real estate agent, I'm not supposed to give you my personal opinion on the schools. It's just one of the rules we have in the industry. But we can use a resource like niche.com to look up where our schools rank and kind of how they grade them out. And they have Williamsburg, James City County schools ranked as an A, and then third in Hampton Roads with York County and the Virginia Beach school system. And don't forget, Northern York County is really part of Williamsburg, so you kind of get the best of both worlds there. They also have them ranked A in the entire state of Virginia. I believe that's out of 141 different school districts. So if you are moving to Virginia, you really aren't going to get a whole lot better, according to niche.com, schools than you will in Williamsburg. So of course, all that being said, go meet with the principals, go meet with the administration, do more research. Don't just use niche.com. Go find out what's best for you and your family. But as far as the rankings go, Williamsburg right up there with the best in the state. Next up on our continued list of pros is golf. There's tons of golfing to do in Williamsburg. So if you're getting to that point in your life where you at least want to get on the links on the weekends, or maybe you're backing off on work a bit and you want to get out and do some golfing on a regular basis, there are like 9 golf courses in Williamsburg, from Two Rivers at Governor's Land, Ford's Colony, Colonial Heritage, Kings Mill, and some of these are PGA Tour quality golf courses. So I'll put a full list in the description so you can see them all, but there are so many options to go golfing in Williamsburg. And the truth is that the population of Williamsburg tends to skew a little older. And so things like golf become really important. If they weren't, we wouldn't have 9 golf courses. So, you can get out, you can join one of these clubs yourself. You can live in a neighborhood where you can walk out your back door and be on the golf course. And for a lot of people, that's really important. So you can live in Ford's Colony, get a membership there, and then just walk right out the door and be on the golf course. Same thing in Kingsmill. So these are really great options to have these golf course communities. Your other options nearby, you'd have to go down to say like Kiln Creek in Newport News and be there. And it's just not quite the same as being in Williamsburg. So if you want to live in Williamsburg and you want to be either on a golf course or very near a golf course and have access to a bunch more just outside your community, within a 15-minute drive, you can go to a ton of different golf courses if you live in Williamsburg. Next on the list are gated communities. So I know for a lot of people moving to the area, they're in a position where they really want safety and security first and foremost. So Williamsburg offers some gated community options like Colonial Heritage, Ford's Colony, Kingsmill. These are gated communities with controlled access, where the owners get, say, like a key fob and they can go through with their own controlled access, but then there are security guards for guests controlling who gets in and out of the community. And I know that means a whole lot to people. If you're moving to this area, you want to know that you're safe. You want to know that there aren't going to be people rolling through your neighborhood who aren't supposed to be there. And I totally understand that. And you really don't have many options outside of Williamsburg nearby to do that. So there are a couple places in, say, Newport News, in Hampton, but they're not the kind of places that are similar to, say, like these kind of gated, almost like luxury or 55 plus communities that you have, that have the gated control, where there are either large single family homes or they're 55 plus communities where you can live. So I do think that having these gated communities is really important to a lot of people. And the great news is that Williamsburg has quite a few. Our next pro for living in Williamsburg is that there's a lot of luxury living. And that really ties into our last two, where you find golf courses and where you find gated communities, you often find luxury homes. So that's definitely the case with, say, Governor's Land, which is about as beautiful a community as you could ever find, Ford's Colony, Kingsmill, and other luxury communities scattered throughout the area. The rest of the peninsula really doesn't offer a lot of that. There are maybe a couple of luxury neighborhoods further down south, in York County, say like Taylor Farms. And then of course you have a lot of waterfront in those areas, and you're gonna find luxury on the water for sure, but not necessarily big communities, big planned communities of all luxury. And you are gonna be able to find that in Williamsburg. So we're talking, the $900,000 $1 million price point and higher, where you're gonna be looking at, 5,000, 6,000 square foot homes. So it's really just a great place where you can get the big, beautiful home with, all the amenities that you're looking for. And if you are coming down from one of these major cities, this could actually be a really good value for you, where you're going to get that luxury home that you've always wanted. Again, a lot of these are gated communities, golf course communities, but you're going to be right there. You're going to have all the things that you could ever want in these beautiful luxury communities that Williamsburg offers. And our final pro for this video, though I do think I could keep going, is that there are great 55 plus communities in Williamsburg. So we have great neighborhoods like Colonial Heritage. We've done a full video on that, where it's 1,800 homes, amazing golf course, great clubhouse, amazing social scene. The settlement at Powhatan Creek, we've done a video on that one. Another gated community, a little bit smaller, with great atmosphere. And of course you're going to get the things like great amenities like tennis courts, pickleball clubs, tons of social clubs. You're going to have that opportunity to be in a home that is mostly first floor living. So every single one of these is going to have, say, first floor master bedroom at least, and then maybe some upstairs space for, bonus rooms and additional bedrooms, things like that. But there aren't a lot of 55 plus communities further south again. Again, it's very similar to kind of the luxury topic we just talked about, is that there aren't really 55 plus communities in York County, Newport News, or Hampton. So if you did want to be in a 55 plus community, particularly one that's gated or on a golf course, you're going to have those options in Williamsburg. And given that the population of Williamsburg tends to skew a little older in the first place, then this is really, really a great option. You're going to have a few to choose from, and they're pretty good size too, and there's constantly home selling in this market. So if you are looking to move into a 55 plus community, Williamsburg could be an amazing place for you to live. Okay, well, there's my list of pros and cons of living in Williamsburg. As you can see, in my opinion, the pros grossly outweigh the cons. I really just think Williamsburg is a wonderful place to live, and I hope you will too. So when you're ready to make your move, give me a call, shoot me a text, or send me an email. I would love to help you out. In the meantime, I'll put some links in the description for some custom home searches so you can start to see some of the houses in the area look like, as well as just some more informational links about things going on in the Williamsburg area. And then don't forget to like this video, share it with anyone you know who may be making a move to Williamsburg or the surrounding area, and then subscribe to this channel. Again, my name is David Tortellini. I'm with eXp Realty. Thanks so much for watching.